Welcome to Improve Your English Writing, video number 58, which is part 5 in a 6-part series on formatting numbers. In this video, we'll be discussing fractions, Rule 84, ordinals, Rule number 85, inclusive numbers, Rule 86, and adjacent numbers, which is Rule 87. If you'd like to get notifications for the series, please click subscribe. If you like the video or you think others will find it useful, please click like and check out links to videos and books in the description, like a link to the companion volume here. So let's get to rule number 84 about fractions. So rule 84 says use words to express a fraction unless it exceeds 2 words, or is a mixed number, or is a technical measurement. A hyphenated word counts as one word. So basically we use words unless it exceeds 2 words, as a mixed number or technical measurement. Hyphenated fraction unless the second element is already hyphenated. So hyphenate unless the second element is hyphenated. Like 2/3, so just some examples. 9/16. But here 1/25, so we would not hyphenate it because the second element is already hyphenated. That's what I mean. So use what are called self-made fraction when the fraction is more than 2 words or is a technical measurement. So like more than one, so it would take more than 2 words to express 21/25, and we would use a self-made fraction when it's a technical measurement. So, and use figures and a slash with no space before and after the slash. So just like you see these examples, there's no space before or after the slash. And you can use a ready-made fraction. It may be used like this one right here, and this is, see how this 3/4 does not like this look like this 3/4. This is called the self-made one here. This is called a ready-made one. So you can use a ready-made fraction, but use a consistent format within the context. I can say within the document. So some examples are: we need a 2/3 majority. So here we go. We spell it out. It is, 2 words. We have a hyphen between it. I never let my gas tank drop below 1/2. Here we have a fraction, and here we put a hyphen in. We put a hyphen. Is 7/16 of the U.S. population obese? So here we have we can express the fraction in 2 words, and we use a hyphen to connect it. The annual report showed 27/64 of the company's profit went to executive bonuses. Now I know someone's never going to express it this way, but here just an example to show that you cannot express this fraction in two words or less. So you would write it as you would not spell it out. You'd use figures per the last slide. So this fraction is more than 2 words, so it's expressed as figures as a ready-made fraction with the numbers and no spaces before or after the slash. The depth of the crack is 5/16 of an inch. So even though you could write 5/16 in 2 words, you would not write this out as words because it is a technical measurement. So we use figures. So we use a fraction, meaning we use figures because it is a technical measurement, or the fraction is a technical measurement. So we use figures. So just some, I know the last bit talked, or the original rule talked about mixed numbers. I just decided that there's a couple comments I have under mixed numbers. So use figures plus a self-made fraction to create a mixed number. Here's an example of a mixed number. It's like 3 and 1. It's like 3 and 1/4. Insert one space between the whole number and the fraction. So the 3 is the whole number, the fraction is 1/4. So you insert one space. Do not use a hyphen. It's very common to see people sticking a hyphen right here. No, you do not use a hyphen. You just use a space. And of course, if you don't use a space between the whole number and the fraction, it gets confusing because you would have 31/4. So you need a space. You need something. Use a space, not a hyphen. So for a ready-made fraction, though, a ready-made fraction may be used, but do not insert a space between the whole number and the fraction, like here. But use a consistent format within the context. So if you're going to use, you rather for 3 and 1/4, rather you're going to have this look, with this is self-made, or you're going to have this look, which is the ready-made fractions. Basically, a lot of the ready-made fractions are going to be like, 1/4, 1/3, 1/2, 2/3. Those they're going to be the ready-mades are usually those fractions. Her child is 4.5 months old. So this is how you'd write it with the ready-made. And here's how you'd write it with the, not the ready-made, the self-made. First one is the self-made. Sorry, this is self-made. This is how you'd write it with the self-made, the whole number, space, fraction. Or with the ready-made fraction, it's 4, no space, and then the ready-made fraction. So that's how you write it this way. One or the other. So for ordinals, we have word style and figure style. So in word style, word style spells out ordinals from first to 100th and uses figures above 100th, so like 101st. Figure style spells out ordinals first to 9th and uses figures above 9th, so like 10th. So once again, they're formatting ordinals differently, and use superscript first. These superscripts only in informal writing. Believe it or not, this is, if you're thinking this was supposed to be this ST and this TH were supposed to be superscript. Actually, that's okay, and that's what you do in informal writing, but you do not do that in formal writing. So once again, word style, basically you spell out first to 100. Figure style goes from first to 9th. Chicago manual style follows word style, so it goes from first to 100th. AP and MLA follow figure style, which is sort of different. You're used to MLA following sort of what Chicago manual style does, but here it actually follows figure style. The Greg's reference manual says follow word style, but allows allows figure style for emphasis. So it's sort of the default is a word style, but you can use figure style if you want to. APA says use either as long as consistency is maintained. So in see video 56 rule 80 for numbered streets. For numbered streets, first, second, third, fourth, go see that video for how to handle numbered streets. So some examples. So in both styles, you would write Isabella won second place at the spelling bee. Just remember, the difference is, word styles 100th, figure styles up to 9th. So both would write second place this way. In the next example, word style would write her brother finished 12th in the race. But figure style would write her brother finished 12th in the race. And then both styles would write, as a novice runner, Chris placed 110th in the marathon. So both styles would write it this way. So our next rule is about inclusive numbers. So use an in dash between two numbers to show a number range. A hyphen is used in journalism, MLA style, informal writing, or when the in dash is not available. Do not use an in dash when the words from or between introduce the number range. So basically have a number range, use an in dash, except for journalism, MLA style, or informal writing, or when you don't have the in dash available. So some examples, the cost analysis is on pages 158 through 165. So this is a number range. So to show that number range, we insert an in dash. During 2015 to 2017, the department had a budget surplus. So here we have a date range, a number range. To show that range, we use an in dash. A severe drought occurred between 2028 and 1935. So once again, since we have a range introduced by the words from or between, we do not use an in dash. We need to just use words between this. So we not say between, 1928 dash, or in dash 1935. No, we cannot. We're not supposed to use it when we have when the range is introduced with these two words. So, but let's talk about the abbreviation of page and year range. So when a range of pages or years occurs frequently in the document, abbreviate the second number using the following guidelines. So this occurs in academic work. So I think especially with page, you're citing, you're doing source citation and you're citing, a page range, then the second number is often abbreviated. So when that occurs, use these following guidelines. And you do not abbreviate infrequent or isolated ranges. It has to be frequent. You do not abbreviate if the first number is, so remember, always talking about abbreviating the second number. You only ever abbreviate the second number. So you do not abbreviate the second number if the first number is under 100. So some examples like 9 through 16, 49 through 53, there's no abbreviation. You do not abbreviate the second number if the first number is a multiple of 100. So like 100 through 107, 1200 through 1217. So you do not abbreviate the second number if the first number is a multiple of 100. Then the third rule, which is the long rule of the actual abbreviation. So the abbreviation, of the second number is the changed numbers in the second number. So it has to be the abbreviation is the changed numbers. And use at least a 2-digit abbreviation unless the leading digit of the abbreviation is a 0. So if it would be like, you would not write 08 for an abbreviation, just write like 8. So let's look at some examples. Let's say you had the range in the abbreviation. So if the range was this 1997 to 2003, this obviously date range, there would be no abbreviation. For 1493 to 1502, you could write it this way. So you'd write the change numbers. The change numbers from the first to the second number are the last 3 digits, so you need to write the 3 digits here. 134 to 138, the abbreviation is just the change numbers, but the change numbers is just 8, but you need to use at least a 2-digit, so it would be 38. Even though it's the change numbers, remember, use a 2-digit abbreviation. 258 to 277, the change numbers are the last 2, so you just write the last 2 here. 1997 to 1998, you could write 1997-98. The change 2 are just the last 2 digits. Or actually, it's just the last digit, but you need a 2-digit, abbreviation. 102 to 108, So once again, the changed is just the 8. And if you go back to use at least a 2-digit, it would be 08, but once again, unless the leading digit is a 0. So then you drop it. That makes sense. So if you think about the changed, if you think about, oh, the change number is just the 8, but then I need 2, that'd be 08, but I don't use a 0. So if you read that, if you go through that entire rule there. So hopefully going through these examples helps you understand how to make that abbreviation. And the fourth rule is a /may, and I stress may, be used between consecutive years to indicate the last part of the first year and the first part of the second year. So you could write it this way: 1997/98, 2018/19. Or you could just put a dash year. But sometimes you may write it this way. So what about adjacent numbers? When you have two adjacent numbers and both are expressed in words or figures, separate them with a comma. So if you have two adjacent numbers and they're both expressed in figures or words, separate them with a comma. Like this, well, here's an example. In 2017, 9 students failed the exam. You don't put a comma here because here one is expressed in figures, the other one is expressed in words. Remember, they need to both be in words or figures, so no comma. And that's what I just said, no comma, because both numbers are not expressed in words or figures. But if you have this case, in 2017, 15 students failed the final exam, then you'd need a comma here to separate the two adjacent numbers. So here the two adjacent numbers are both in figures, so we use a comma between them. For the staff meeting at 5, 10 people will attend. Here we have two adjacent numbers, both are in words, so we need a comma to separate them. And for this account, this amount was charged on March 9th. So here we have two adjacent numbers, so we put a comma between them. And the comma is required per Rule 5. If I actually look back to this previous example, it's also Rule 5 would also probably apply here too. But my point was to show you had two adjacent numbers, which means they need a comma. So actually, both these sentences need the comma between these two for Rule 5 and per Rule 87. So what about a compound modifier? Well, when two adjacent numbers are part of a compound modifier, use words for one number and use figures for the other number. Generally, use words for the first number, unless the second number would be much shorter if expressed in words. So here's what I'm talking about. I think I have two examples. Liam received 12 $50 gift cards for his birthday. So here we have like two adjacent numbers forming a compound modifier. Use words for one, figures for the other. Because remember, if one's expressed in words and one's expressed in numbers, you don't need a comma. And generally use words for the first and numbers for the second, unless the first one is much shorter, or if it's much shorter expressed in words. Use words for the first number unless the second number would be much shorter if expressed in words. So Caitlin found $120 bills in a paper bag here. Once again, we said usually use the number first, but here 150 would be much longer than the 20. Or usually, you normally you'd spell this one out, but since it would be shorter if you did this one with figures, then you use figures here. So really, you just need to have one in words and the other one in figures. So, but this has been the general, this bullet here is generally what's done, or this first example is generally what's done, but not always. That's for this video. If you'd like to get notifications for this series, please click subscribe. If you like the video, please hit like and check out links to books and videos in the description.